What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. This is the channel where we sit down and cover different comic book stories from different comic book companies. Today, guys, we're going to jump back over to Darkhorse. Actually, this is our first time going over to Darkhorse and our first time covering Hellboy. And guys, I am going to be honest here with you. This video is going to be very, very bad because I could not pronounce half the names in the story, so please forgive me. But this is actually the first Hellboy story to come out back in the early 90s. So this is a very important book to a lot of Hellboy fans out there. So if you do like today's comic book video, hit that like button down below and also subscribe. But I do hope you enjoy today's video. So the story opens up in the year 1944 in the middle of World War II, where we are getting a report from the U.S. Army official named George Whitman, who has been ordered to lead a team of people to a village called East Bromwich. Now on this team, there was a superhero named the Torch of Liberty, a very interesting name, a paranormal official named Trevor Brutenholmes, and then a psychic named Cynthia Eden Jones. They were all sent there because word got out a group of Nazi soldiers are planning to do some kind of doomsday device that could be the herald to the end of the world. Now, the problem is that Cynthia, the psychic, got the wrong location because there are two spots affected by the same kind of energy. The Nazi group is at another location, and we see in the center of the second location is this powerful wizard, Gregory Rasputin, who is hooked up to a lot of devices, and he begins a summoning process, hoping to bring in what could help the German army win World War II. But also he has his own ideas for this summoning. Now, Gregory Rasputin meant to summon something called the Ogdru Jihad. Yes, I know I just butchered that, please forgive me. Except, of course, he doesn't end up summoning that. Instead, he summons Hellboy. But Hellboy doesn't end up where the Nazi soldiers are at. Instead, he is summoned where the U.S. Army is at, and they of course take him in. Now, Trevor Brutenholmes is the one who takes Hellboy in, and this is going to be very important, and you will see why here in the next section. We then jump to the year 1994 at the headquarters of the Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense in New York. Of course, with an older Brutenholm who is thinking back to when Hellboy came to Earth, and then Hellboy walks in. This is when we find out that Brutenholm has been missing for 2 whole years, which is very crazy. Having disappeared after a polar expedition, he tells Hellboy the story of why he did disappear, informing Hellboy of his trip to the Arctic Circle with the 2 Cavendish boys and a guy named Savan Olafsson. Yeah, I'm just gonna butcher names left and right today, who was a famous Arctic explorer. They had entered a cave at the top of the world which had some kind of strange statue, a strange tentacle creature statue, and a human was meditating at the feet of the statue. When Brutenholm touched the relic, it seemed to come alive, and that is when he forgot everything. But before he can continue, out of nowhere, a plague of frogs appear, and Brutenholm runs from his office. Before Hellboy can react, Brutenholm is killed by a huge frog, no lie, a huge frog monster. This frog monster left Brutenholm with markings around his body. The creature then tries to kill Hellboy, but he proves too strong for the frog monster, and he is able to shoot at it as it attempts to escape. After killing the creature, Hellboy telephones the BPRD director, Tom Manning, informing him of Brutenholm's death, as Manning arranges things with his fellow officials. And then to close on the first chapter, we skip over to an old house. In the dark, a shadow figure discusses Brutenholm's death with a random old lady. And the question is, Who is this old lady? With that happening, we jump forward a couple days and pick up with Hellboy going to the house that is owned by the Cavendish family. Remember that the two Cavendish brothers went with Brutenholm on that expedition to the Arctic, except they went up missing. But you have Hellboy saying that the house they live in is haunted. We learn why the house is haunted here in a minute, but we see that Hellboy is with two people, Liz Sherman and Abe Chopin. Yep, I know I just butchered that name, please forgive me. They are part of Hellboy's team and they all work for the Bureau for Paranormal Research and Department. And when they get to the house, they are confronted by Emma Cavendish, the mother of the two Cavendish brothers that went missing with Brutenholmes. This is where you have Emma Cavendish explain the origin of the Cavendish family, that the family is cursed. For 9 generations, boys of the family kept searching the top of the world for something. When they go on their expedition, they don't come back. And this all started with Elihu, I think it's Elihu, I'm going to keep butchering names, Cavendish, who was a whaler, except he was the one who kept traveling the world. While he was traveling the world, he learned a lot of different things, dark things, that he built this house on the cursed ground. After he built the house, he left for the Arctic. He was the first one to go into the Arctic. Then the other generations followed. Before they are able to continue the conversation, that is when you have the butler of the house come out and take Hellboy and his team away to their rooms because they're going to stay the night to figure out what is going on there. The next page, we see Emma Cavendish go to her room and she's again confronted by the same mysterious character hiding in the shadows. He applauded her for doing a good job making it seem that she doesn't know anything. She is only working for this character to get her sons back. Where her doing a good job, our mysterious character let her son say hello to her. This is where we begin to learn more about the other members of Hellboy's team. Starting with Liz. Well, she has the ability of fire, of course. Now, where her powers come from is unknown. How she got on Hellboy's team is when her powers first activated. She killed her family and a ton of other people in an accident and made her award with the Bureau for Paranormal Research and Department, where she was trained and has stayed with. Now, when it comes to Abe, he was found in a tub that was in a basement of a hospital in Washington. He is basically a fish-like character. Again, who made him and how he got there is unknown. All they know is that they found a note that had a date when President Abraham Lincoln died. After we learn more about Abe, you have him dive in the lake that surrounds the house to learn more about the place and see if there are some secrets underneath the house. This is where things begin to get very interesting because you have Hellboy call Liz on the room's phone to talk to each other, except that is when he hears over the phone someone kidnapping her. So you have Hellboy pop in the room to save Liz, except she is gone and he is confronted by the butler. Now this butler is actually Sven Olafsson, or Sven Olafsson. I cannot pronounce that name, I'm sorry y'all. The other person who was with Brutenholmes on that expedition heading towards the Arctic. Remember though, that Brutenholmes said that everyone disappeared. So how is Sven here then? That is when you have Sven turn into one of those frog monsters like the one we saw earlier. This battle does last for a long time, but it is over after a few pages with Hellboy winning now, and he did not kill Sven. While Hellboy was doing that, you have to remember that Abe, the fish-like creature of the team, is underneath the house looking through the lake hoping to find something important. He does find something, some kind of basement level to the house, but to him, this part of the place feels like death. At the same time, you have Hellboy find the body of Emma Cavendish, the mother to the boys that went missing. She also has marks all over her body, the same ones Brutenholmes had when he had died by the earlier frog monster we saw. Then Hellboy is confronted by the person who summoned him all of those years ago. Gregory Rasputin. Remember, he was the wizard who was working with the German army, hoping to summon something to help them win the war. Now, Gregory was really trying to summon something else. We are going to learn about what Gregory was trying to summon, but you have Gregory tell Hellboy that he was the one that summoned him, and they are destined to work together, and ask Hellboy to join his side. Except, of course, Hellboy says no. So to make Hellboy join his side, Gregory sends out the same kind of monster to force Hellboy to change his decision. While Hellboy fights against the frog monster, underneath the house is an Aztec temple, and you then have Rasputin begin to explain to Hellboy about the origin of Agdru Jihad and how they want to be freed from their prison. Hellboy does try to shoot Rasputin in the head, but the monk quickly heals and uses curse magic to send Hellboy flying through the air. This worries Hellboy because everything he has with him is of no use against Gregory's power. Gregory warns Hellboy that he brought him into the world and he can just as easily take him out of it. The frog monster then returns and begins battling Hellboy once again. While Hellboy is going through that fight, Abe has kept going deep into the waterways, which is connected to the cellars of Cavendish House to the lake. When he arrives, he comes across the two Cavendish brothers, and if you remember, these two had disappeared as well, but they came back to see their mother Emma. Well, they have also become frog monsters as well. This is the weird part though. They are not violent when Abe sees them. They are holding the corpse of their mother who they killed only because Gregory told them to. That is when Abe discovers the body of Elihu Cavendish on a throne, and this dude is holding a harpoon. Switching back to Hellboy, Gregory Rasputin reveals why he is trying to bring back Agdru Jihad. He was killed by a group of people back in the year 1916, and his body was thrown into a river. Gregory was brought back to life by the Agdru Jihad, and he left Russia, then lived in an Italian village. He became popular out there as a prophet of the apocalypse. He was then confronted by Heinrich Himmler, who took him to Germany to head one of Hitler's Doomsday project. Rasputin knew Hitler was going to fail. He also knew he could use all of the resources of Germany to complete his goal. He worked with Germany to design a machine that would bring the Agdru Jihad to Earth and hopefully burn the Earth. Of course, the project failed, and Rasputin headed north, and he did receive some kind of vision from Sadu Him. This is the statue creature that was found by Rutenholm. At this point, it is now in the temple beneath Cavendish Hall. He then went into a deep meditation and saw the Agdru Jihad and some weird darkness abyss. After being there a while, that was when he was found by Rutenholm. With his powers, he looked into the mind of the professor and found out about Hellboy's existence, using his powers to control the expedition group to place Sadu Him on board a ship and take him to America. The creature killed everyone by feeding on them. He also allowed Rutenholm to return to New York, knowing he would tell Hellboy about everything. Rasputin then tells Hellboy he had Olafsson, I still cannot pronounce his name, capture Liz, and now plans to use her powers as it flows through him into Sadu Him and use the energy to let out Agdru Jihad. He now no longer needs Hellboy and proclaims that hell on earth is approaching. As Gregory is absorbing Liz's powers, Agdru Jihad are beginning to break out of their prison. We come to find out that some unknown alien race is observing the earth, letting us know that if the Seven get out, they will devour the universe once they destroy the earth. While that is happening, Hellboy is losing the battle with Seven. The battle does end with Hellboy finding some kind of grenade to use to defeat Seven. Now Rasputin is using the same spell he had used 50 years ago, the one that brought Hellboy to Earth, hoping to summon Agru Jahad. However, before he completes the spell, he is speared through the chest by Abe, who is being controlled by Elihu Cavendish. Remember, he was the first Cavendish to explore the Arctic. With Rasputin getting stabbed, his concentration was broken. Liz's firepower goes crazy and frying Sadu Heen. Abe is let go from Cavendish control, and the three of them all heading towards the exit. Now, Rasputin doesn't die. He tries to kill Hellboy. Of course, his powers don't work since his powers is mostly drained. Before Rasputin is killed, he tries to tell Hellboy that if he doesn't live, Hellboy will never learn about his origin. Of course, Hellboy kills Rasputin and leaves, letting us know that it is a sign that he doesn't care about his origin that much. As Hellboy remembers Rasputin's last word, then we get a quick look at some abandoned castle in Norway. Inside is some kind of Nazi laboratory. We get the return of some characters who used to work with Rasputin. They are seen be frozen into the wall in a thick sheet of ice. Out of nowhere, the ice begins to break off and could mean they are released. But this is where we are going to end today's video. So please hit that like button down below and also subscribe to the channel for more content to come in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read? Well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But I do hope you enjoyed today's video.